Ryan stood at the edge of the Crystal Plaza and felt a strange tremor in his chest. He had arrived on Era only days before. The planet was alive with soft lights that shimmered over pale blue stones. He looked at the tall archway in front of him and thought of the honor that lay ahead. None of the other humans seemed to share his calm. They whispered among themselves, their eyes wide with fear and curiosity. Kai walked toward him with quiet grace. Her skin had the soft glow of moonlight on water, and her pale cyan hair fell in gentle waves around her shoulders. She held out a slender hand and offered it to him. Ryan took it with respect, feeling how warm her touch could be. He bowed his head slightly. Behind her, elders dressed in flowing robes moved in slow patterns. Their voices rose and fell in gentle tones. In the hall beyond the plaza, the ceremony space was set. Tall pillars of translucent crystal caught the light. Ryan noticed how every surface seemed to pulse with a soft rhythm, as if it were breathing. He thought of the stories he had been told. Errands believed that their species had lost a vital joy long ago. They believed humans could bring it back. Elder Mia stepped forward to speak. Her eyes were kind but firm. She told Ryan that he had been chosen to begin the bond ritual. She spoke of pleasure as a sacred gift. Ryan listened closely. He did not mock their beliefs. He felt a deeper sense of purpose. He would honor their trust. Later, Ryan met Kai in a quiet garden beneath a dome of glass. Soft petals fell like snow around them. Kai explained that the pleasure bond was more than a ritual. It was a way to connect minds and hearts. She said that through shared moments of restful joy, Erons could heal wounds that pain had left behind. Ryan nodded, though he felt unsure of what lay ahead. They spent the rest of the day in gentle training. Kai guided Ryan in simple exercises. They learned to match each other's breathing. They held hands and whispered sounds that felt like music. In one exercise, Kai asked Ryan to focus on a memory of happiness. He thought of a quiet evening at home with his sister Lisa. He felt warmth in his chest and shared the feeling with Kai. She closed her eyes and smiled. At dusk, they returned to the plaza. The ceremony would begin at moonrise. Ryan's heart beat faster. He saw other humans standing hesitantly at the edge of the crowd. He knew they judged the ritual as strange. He squared his shoulders and reminded himself that he was here by choice. He would not let fear guide him now. Rise came quickly. The sky above the glass dome turned to deep violet. Tiny lights drifted like stars. Kai took Ryan's hand and led him to the center of the plaza. The elders formed a circle around them. Their soft chants filled the air. Ryan closed his eyes and tried to clear his mind of all doubts. Then Kai leaned close and spoke in a voice no louder than a breeze. She told Ryan to trust the moment. She asked him to sense her pleasure as a gift. He hesitated only a heartbeat before he nodded. He reached out and gently touched her cheek. Kai's skin was cool and smooth. She leaned into his hand, her eyes closing as she felt comfort and hope. As they moved together, Ryan felt a gentle warmth spread through him. It was unlike anything he had known. Each touch brought a pulse of light to his mind. He felt images of Era's long history, its joys and sorrows. It was a quiet flood of feeling, as if the planet itself reached out through Kai to speak to him. The elders continued their chant. Ryan found himself matching his breathing to Kai's. His mind grew still. Pain from old memories drifted away. For the first time in a long time, he laughed softly. Kai opened her eyes and smiled at him. In that smile, Ryan saw gratitude. He saw relief. He understood why her people had chosen him. When the ceremony ended, a soft hush fell. The elders blessed the bond with words that felt like music. Ryan and Kai stood side by side. He felt a new strength inside him. The crowd stirred and offered gentle applause. The human crew looked at him with awe and envy. But Ryan only saw Kai's eyes. They held warmth and hope. Afterward, Kai led him away from the plaza to a small terrace. Moonlight lit their path. She thanked him for his openness and courage. Ryan felt proud and humbled. He told her he would do whatever it took to help her people. She rested her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. Ryan looked up at the violet sky. He felt connected to Era, to Kai, and to all the hopes of a new alliance. He knew challenges lay ahead, but in that moment he was ready to face them. He would learn, he would grow, and he would stand by Kai as she shared her gift with her world. Ryan awoke before dawn in the gentle glow of lantern light. The small chamber smelled of white flowers and soft wood. Kai sat on a low bench by the window, her pale blue hair spilling over her shoulders. She smiled when Ryan entered. Neither spoke. They had trained together for many hours, and now they would begin the true preparation for the pleasure bond. They moved to a warm pool filled with milky water. Steam rose in soft curls around them. Kai guided Ryan into the pool and showed him how to relax his muscles. He did as she asked, letting the water carry his weight. She spoke in a gentle voice, telling him that each exercise was meant to teach. Trust. He closed his eyes and felt the warm water on his skin. He breathed slowly, matching the rhythm of her words. When they left the pool, Kai led Ryan to a small chamber lined with soft mats. She sat cross-legged and motioned for him to join her. Ryan obeyed, feeling a slight tremble in his hands. Kai placed her hand on his knee and said, "You must learn to feel without fear." She asked him to think of a moment when he felt safe and happy. Ryan thought of a camping trip with his brother Luke, sitting by a crackling fire under the stars. He felt the warmth of the fire and the calm of the night. He breathed deeply and shared that feeling with Kai. She nodded and closed her eyes. In the days that followed, Ryan learned more about Era and beliefs. Elders told him that pleasure was not mere fleeting joy. It was a sacred bond that could heal mind and body. Kai showed him scrolls with ancient stories of their people. In one tale, a great healer had cured a terrible sickness by sharing laughter and touch. Ryan listened with awe as Kai translated. He remembered his training as an engineer, building machines, and he wondered how this ritual could be as powerful as technology. One afternoon, Kai introduced Ryan to Elder Laura. She held a small crystal orb that glowed with soft light. Lara placed it between them and explained that the orb would record the harmony of their bond. It would shine brighter as their trust grew. Ryan looked at the orb and saw colors shifting inside, pale greens, blues, and pinks. He offered his hand to Kai, and she rested her fingers against his. They closed their eyes, focusing on the calm. They found in each other's presence. As the orb pulsed, Ryan felt a gentle hum in his chest. He opened his eyes and saw Kai watching him. He felt a spark of courage. He realized that he cared for her more than he expected. He smiled, and Kai's lips curved in return. Elder Lara nodded and said quietly, "You are learning well." Later, Ryan walked alone through the gardens that circled the ceremony hall. The air smelled of night-blooming flowers. His thoughts drifted to home, to Lisa and Luke. He wondered how they would react to all he had done. He felt a tug of loneliness. He paused by a fountain and stared at his reflection. He saw a man changed by this world. He pressed his hand to the cool stone and promised himself he would see this through. Back in the training chamber, Kai was waiting. She looked calm, but her eyes held concern. She placed her hand over his heart and said softly, "You carry more than just duty. I feel your care for this place." Ryan nodded, feeling his heart clench. He whispered, "I want to help." Kai smiled and took his hand. She led him through the next exercise, mirroring. They stood facing each other and moved slowly. When Kai lifted her arm, Ryan lifted his. When she tilted her head, he did the same. It was a simple dance of motion, but it spoke of deeper connection. When they matched perfectly, Kai whispered, "I trust you." That night, Ryan dreamt of the bond. Ritual. He saw himself and Kai standing in the crystal plaza, bathed in moonlight. She held a glowing flower and offered it to him. He reached out and touched its petals, which felt like silk against his fingertips. The light from the flower spread until the plaza was filled with warm color. Ryan woke with a start, his heart racing. In the morning, Ryan found Kai reading scrolls. By lantern light, she looked up and asked, "Did you sleep well?" Ryan swallowed and nodded. He joined her and watched the words glow under her touch. She explained more about the ritual, how pleasure must flow without shame, how each moment of joy must be shared freely. Ryan listened, his mind opening to new feelings. Days turned into a week. Each morning they practiced in the pool and the chamber. Each evening they walked the gardens or studied lore. Ryan noticed how Kai laughed at small jokes, how her eyes sparkled when she found a word she liked in the scrolls. He found himself looking for her when she was not near, and he felt a strange ache when they parted. One afternoon, Elder Mia invited Ryan to a private meeting. Kai waited outside. Ryan entered a circular room lit by candles. Mia offered him a cup of warm tea. She said, "Ryan, you must know that your bond with Kai has grown strong. The orb shows your harmony. Great change has begun. But the final rite will test both of you." She paused and looked at him kindly. Ryan held her gaze and said, "I understand." Mia nodded and said, "Continue your preparation and trust each other fully. The goddess of our people will guide you." Ryan left the room and found Kai. He took her hand and said quietly, "The elders think we are ready for the next step." Kai squeezed his hand and said, "I am ready." Together they walked back to the training space. That evening, Kai surprised Ryan with a simple dinner of roasted root fruits and sweet nectar. They sat by a low table under a canopy of glowing vines. Ryan dug in with his hands, enjoying the simple meal. Kai laughed and offered him a piece of fruit. He took it and smiled. She said, "This reminds me of home." Ryan asked, "Do you miss it?" Kai paused and looked into the sky. She whispered, "Yes, sometimes." Then she turned to him and said, "But now I have new hope." Ryan reached across the table and took her hand. He said, "I will do my best to help you and your people." Kai nodded, her eyes bright. She placed her other hand over theirs and said, "That is enough." They sat in silence, sharing the simple warmth of the moment. Ryan felt his fear fade. He felt he could face the final days of preparation with courage. Together they would bring joy back to Era. And perhaps they would find something more for themselves along the way. Ryan and Kai met in the morning light by the waterfall terrace. Water cascaded over smooth stones into a clear pool below. Mist rose in pale ribbons. Kai stood on the top step, her pale blue hair damp at the ends. She waved and Ryan climbed the stones to join her. Today, they would practice a new ritual designed to deepen their bond. Elder Lara arrived with a silver bowl filled with soft petals. She explained that these flowers were called Amora blooms. The petals released sweet fragrance and warmth when touched. Kai took a petal and pressed it between her fingers. She offered one to Ryan. He held it gently, feeling its soft edges, and brought it to his nose. The scent was floral and soothing. Lara guided them to sit facing each other. She said they would share the petal's warmth. Kai held her palm open and Ryan placed the petal. In her hand, she closed her eyes. Ryan watched her chest rise and fall. He reached out to brush a lock of hair from her face. The contact made her eyes open slowly. Kai smiled and touched his cheek. Ryan felt a tingle where their skin met. As the petal glowed with soft pink light, Ryan felt warmth spread through his body. He closed his eyes and imagined a memory of comfort, his mother's kitchen on a rainy day, the smell of fresh bread baking. He breathed deeply and held the feeling. Kai opened her mouth to speak, but instead let the glow from the petal wash over her fingers. Lara nodded and said, "Now share your joy." Kai opened her hand and took Ryan's other hand. She led his fingers to her palm, where he felt her calm warmth. He gasped softly as the feeling moved from his mind to his body. Kai's eyes met his, and he saw her gratitude for his trust. The moment deepened their connection. Ryan felt a bond that went beyond touch. He felt he could understand Kai's thoughts without words. He saw images of her childhood, learning ancient dances in moonlit halls, playing by river reefs under purple skies. He felt her longing for laughter and pain she had tried to hide. Kai whispered, "Thank you." Ryan replied, "Thank you." Their voices were soft. Around them, the waterfall sounded like gentle music. Later, at midday, Ryan and Kai practiced in the crystal chamber. Pillars shone with inner light. The orb glowed brighter than ever. Kai guided Ryan's hand to trace symbols on the crystal walls. Each symbol represented an emotion: joy, hope, trust. As Ryan touched each one, he felt a surge of light flow through him. Kai watched the orb swirl with new colors. Outside, human observers gathered but kept their distance. Some shook their heads in disapproval. Ryan noticed officers whispering that the rituals went too far. Rumors of scandal reached the council. Ryan felt a pang of guilt. He went to Kai and said, "Some humans think we are wrong." Kai looked sad. She said, "They do not understand." Ryan squeezed her hand and said, "I will defend our bond." In the evening, they walked among the luminescent gardens. Glowing vines arched overhead, and soft petals drifted at their feet. Kai laughed at a small joke Ryan made about human tea rituals. Her laughter was like bells. Ryan felt his heart lift. He realized he had begun to love her in a way he had not expected. Suddenly, guards approached. A human envoy led them. Ryan recognized Commander Hale, a stern man with a sharp voice. Hale said, "Council demands we halt the rituals until we review." Ryan stepped forward. He said, "Commander, our bond is real and vital. Halt or no, I choose Kai." Hale frowned. He said, "You defy orders." Ryan said calmly, "I will accept any consequence." Kai placed her hand on Ryan's arm. She said, "Ryan, you do not need to risk yourself." Ryan shook his head. He said, "I trust our bond." He looked at Hale. Hale studied them both. Finally, Hale said, "Your defiance will be heard by the council tomorrow. Until then, the rituals continue." After the guards left, Kai rested her head on Ryan's shoulder. She said, "You are brave?" Ryan smiled. He said, "I am not brave. I am guided by what is right." Kai closed her eyes. Ryan kissed her forehead. That night they sat on the palace balcony. Stars shone through the clear dome. Kai asked, "Do you fear what humans will say?" Ryan said, "I fear losing you." Kai opened her eyes. She whispered, "Then trust the bond." Ryan nodded. He pulled her close and held her. In their embrace, they felt the bond deepen. Ryan felt a warmth that spread through him like sunrise. Kai felt hope blossom in her chest. They sat until dawn, united in quiet promise. Next day would bring counsel, trials, and challenges. But in that moment, Ryan and Kai shared a bond stronger than fear. They were ready to face what came together. Ryan stood at the edge of the landing field as the morning sun rose over Era's violet skies. The air smelled of damp earth and wild flowers. He tightened his grip on the small device in his hand, a simple human scanner he had modified to pick up unusual energy readings. Kai joined him, her pale cyan hair glowing softly in the dawn light. She wore a simple tunic of woven silk that hugged her frame. Ryan felt his heart race as he met her eyes. A loud blast echoed from the western border. Kai gasped and brought a hand to her chest. Ryan caught her arm and said, "What is it?" Kai's eyes filled with worry. She said, "The Valderans have come. They are the faction that calls our bonds weakness. They will destroy our pleasure halls and break our spirit." Ryan felt a rush of fear, but he pushed it aside. He looked at Kai and said, "We will face them together." They ran toward the council citadel. The path led through the pleasure gardens, where soft lights draped from tree branches and small fountains sang gentle tunes. Ryan had walked these paths with Kai many times, but now they were empty. Petals lay scattered on the ground, and the air was still. The peace of the place felt fragile beneath the tension of coming war. At the edge of the gardens, they saw Valderan ships crossing the horizon. Their hulls were jagged and dark, unlike the smooth curves of Aeron craft. One ship hovered low, firing energy pulses that lit up the sky. Kai turned to Ryan, her eyes bright with tears. She said, "They come to end us." Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Stay close to me." Inside the citadel, elders and soldiers gathered in the great hall. Torches cast shadows on the walls, and the sound of alarms echoed through the corridors. Ryan and Kai hurried in. Elder Mia stood at the center, her robes slightly torn and her face pale. She spoke to the council. Ryan and Kai joined the circle, and Mia introduced Ryan as their chosen protector. She said, "Ryan has the bond's strength. He can help us defend our people." One council member, Lord Arvin, scoffed. He said, "This is folly. A human cannot save us." Kai spoke up, her voice steady. She said, "Ryan is part of our bond. You saw the orb glow. You felt our unity. We will stand or fall together." Silence followed. Lord Arvin glared at Kai and Ryan, but no one spoke. Suddenly the hall shook as a distant blast hit the outer wall. Stones fell and dust filled the air. Kai grabbed Ryan's hand. She said, "They breached the gardens." Ryan said, "We must lead the defense." Mia nodded and said, "Go." Elder Lara handed Ryan a small device that emitted a soft hum. She said, "This is a resonance stabilizer. Place it at the heart of the gardens. It will amplify your bond and shield the area." Ryan slipped the device into his pocket. Kai and Ryan ran through a side door into the garden paths. Outside, Valderon soldiers advanced, their weapons glowing red. Aeron defenders stood firm, their own weapons firing beams of blue light. Ryan saw Kai step forward to help coordinate the defenses, her calm voice guiding the soldiers. He felt pride for her bravery. They reached the central fountain, its crystal limbs shattered by enemy fire. Ryan knelt and placed the stabilizer on a smooth stone. The device pulsed once, and then a soft echo spread like a heartbeat. The garden lights flickered as the bond's energy flowed through the paths. A protective wave swept out, and the Valderons faltered, their beams scattering. Seizing the moment, Ryan concentrated on his bond with Kai. He thought of her laughter and her trust. He reached out in his mind, feeling her presence. Kai felt his focus and raised her arms, calling the defenders to push forward. Together, Ryan and Kai guided the Aerons on a counterattack. Blue beams sang through the air and red pulses faded. The Valderons retreated behind their ships. Ryan and Kai led the defenders through the gardens, pushing the enemy back. Petals floated in the energy's wake and the lights glowed brighter. Ryan felt a surge of strength. He moved with confidence, rescuing injured soldiers and directing defenders to safe cover. Kai stood beside him, her calm words steadying each group. As the last Valderon soldier fell back. Ryan and Kai reached the broken gates. Kai found a young soldier crying by a shattered wall. Ryan knelt and helped him to his feet. The soldier said, "Thank you." Ryan nodded and said, "We protect our home together." Kai placed a hand on the soldier's shoulder and smiled. The battle ended as quickly as it had begun. Silence fell across the gardens. Defenders gathered around Ryan and Kai, their faces filled with relief. Elder Mia appeared, her robes dusty. She said, "You both have saved us." Ryan felt sweat on his brow and his chest rushed with emotion. He looked at Kai, whose eyes shone with pride and gratitude. That night, the council reconvened in the great hall. Lord Arvin approached Ryan. For the first time, he bowed low and said, "Human, you have proven your worth." Kai stood beside Ryan, her hand in his. Arvin turned to the council and declared, "Let no voice speak against the bond." The council agreed. Later, Ryan and Kai stood under the stars on the palace balcony. The gardens glowed softly below. Kai leaned against him and whispered, "Today we showed the galaxy our strength." Ryan held her tight and said, "And we showed what unity can do." Kai closed her eyes and rested her head on his chest. Ryan thought of the days ahead. Part 5 would bring the ultimate ritual, harder than any battle. But for now he savored the moment of peace. He kissed Kai's forehead and said, "We will face it together, as one." Kai smiled, her glow brighter than ever. And on that night, Era slept in safety, bound by trust and pleasure's power. The sky above the Crystal Plaza was clear as dawn broke. Soft light spilled over the pale blue stones. Ryan and Kai arrived hand in hand. The plaza was empty except for the elders and a ring of glowing pillars. The air pulsed with quiet energy. Ryan felt his heart pound. Today they would complete the final ceremony. They stepped into the center of the circle. Elder Mia stood before them. Her silver hair framed a calm face. She spoke in gentle tones. "Ryan and Kai, today you bring healing to our people. You face your fears and share your deepest trust." Her voice echoed softly off the crystal walls. Kai squeezed Ryan's hand and smiled. "We are ready," she said. Her voice was steady, but Ryan felt her warmth. He nodded and took a slow breath. He looked at the pillars around them. Each pillar glowed in a different color: green, blue, pink, gold, violet, and silver. The elders would guide them through 6 stages, one for each pillar. Elder Lara stepped forward with a small bowl of warm oil. She said, "In the first stage, you cleanse your bodies and minds." Kai and Ryan knelt. Lara poured oil on their hands. The scent of white flowers filled the air. She guided Ryan to gently wash Kai's hands. His touch was light, and she relaxed into his care. Then Kai washed Ryan's, her fingers moving slowly. They looked into each other's eyes. They felt calm wash over them. In the second stage, they rose and moved to the green pillar. Elder Korin held a wreath of soft leaves. He placed it on Ryan's head. He said, "This represents new life and growth." Kai placed a matching wreath on her own hair. Elder Korin directed them to walk slowly in a circle. As they moved, the green light pulsed. Ryan felt a gentle warmth. Kai spoke softly, "Our bond grows like these leaves." Ryan replied, "I feel life in every breath with you." Next, they approached the blue pillar. Elder Reyna held a crystal chalice filled with clear water. She said, "Drink to share the waters of trust." Ryan and Kai drank together. The water tasted sweet and cool. Ryan felt a strong sense of safety. Kai smiled and said, "We trust each other completely." Ryan answered, "I will always trust you." For the 4th stage, they moved to the pink pillar. Elder Mora carried a plate of soft petals. Ryan and Kai picked petals and placed them on each other's skin. The petals felt silky and warm. Each petal carried a pulse of light. When Kai laid a petal on Ryan's chest, he felt his chest glow with gentle comfort. When Ryan placed one on Kai's cheek, she paused, closing her eyes and drawing in a soft breath. In the 5th stage, they reached the gold pillar. Elder Tala held a small flame in a crystal lantern. She said, "This flame shows passion and courage." Kai and Ryan lit a pair of candles from the flame. They held the candles together, their hands closed. The light flickered across their faces. Ryan looked into Kai's eyes and saw admiration. He felt courage fill his chest. Kai whispered, "Our passion guides us," Ryan replied. "With you, I am brave." Finally, they stood before the silver pillar. Elder Mia returned with the glowing orb. She placed it on a pedestal. The orb shone brighter than ever. Mia spoke, "Now you share your final gift. Share true pleasure to heal our oldest wound." Ryan and Kai turned to each other. They knelt, facing each other across the orb. Ryan took Kai's hands in his. He felt her pulse align with his own. Kai closed her eyes and leaned forward. She rested her forehead against Ryan's, her breath mingling with his. Ryan followed her lead. He let go of all thought, focusing on the warmth of her touch. Together, they breathed slowly in harmony. Each breath brought a wave of light from the orb. As they moved closer, Ryan gently cradled Kai's face. She let her hands rest on his chest. They shared a soft smile. Time seemed to slow. The orb glowed, sending ripples of silver light across the plaza. Ryan felt a deep joy he had never known. Kai felt tears of relief fall unchecked. She whispered, "Thank you." They continued their shared moment, each touch carrying gentle waves of healing. Ryan's hand traced a path along Kai's arm. She responded with a gentle sigh. Their breathing matched the orb's pulsing light. Ryan thought of the old sickness that once scarred Era. He felt the bond's power. It filled him with warmth and hope. Outside the ceremony space, humans and Erams watched behind crystal walls. Many wept as they witnessed the final ritual. They felt the bond's energy reach them, like a soft breeze. Ryan and Kai became one with the orb's light. They held each other, lost in the moment. Elder Mia spoke again. Her voice cut through the silence. "The bond is complete." The orb burst with silver radiance. Light spread over the plaza and beyond. In that instant, the ancient sickness lifted. Those who had long pain felt it vanish. The land seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Flowers opened and soft lights returned to the gardens when the light faded. Ryan and Kai stood, still holding each other. The elders approached and laid hands on their shoulders. Mia said, "You have saved our people, you have healed our world." Ryan felt tears of joy fill his eyes. Kai's face shone with gratitude. The crowd entered the plaza, gathering around Ryan and Kai. They offered quiet applause. Kai and Ryan stepped forward and bowed together. The people honored their bond. Ryan looked at Kai and said, "We did it." Kai nodded and smiled. Later, they walked through the gardens hand in hand. The flowers glowed softly under the moon. Kai rested her head on Ryan's shoulder. She whispered, "Our journey brought life back to Era." Ryan replied, "And it brought me to you." Kai looked up with a soft laugh. She said, "We have much to share." Ryan squeezed her hand and said, "Together, we will face whatever comes." As they walked away from the plaza, Ryan felt a calm certainty. Kai felt a deep peace. Together they had unlocked the full power of the bond. Their union would shape a new future for two worlds. And in that soft night air, the promise of hope and pleasure shone brighter than the stars. A month had passed since the final ceremony. Era's skies were clear and the gardens bloomed brighter than ever. Ryan walked through a field of glowing flowers with Kai at his side. They discussed plans for the alliance between humans and Erons. Kai carried a small satchel of scrolls containing proposals and maps. In the council hall, Ryan and Kai presented their vision. Humans and Erons sat together at long tables. Ryan spoke in his calm voice. He said they would share human, medicine, and technology. Kai followed, explaining how the pleasure bond could help heal other worlds. The council listened with respect. After they finished, Elder Mia stood and said, "Your work will guide us into peace." The hall erupted in quiet applause. Later, Ryan returned to Earthstead, a small human settlement on Era's coast. The settlement had grown with new homes and workshops. Ryan visited his own workshop. He found Lisa's sketchpad filled with drawings of Eran architecture. His sister had arrived to help document the alliance. He smiled and hugged her. As evening fell, Ryan met Kai on the shore. The pale sun set the water ablaze with violet light. Kai held a small seashell. She said the seashell was a gift from her mother, passed down through generations. She pressed it into Ryan's hand and said, "Keep it close." Ryan felt its smooth curves and promised he would. They walked along the beach, soft waves lapping at their feet. Ryan said, "I want to learn more about your people's art and music." Kai nodded and said, "And I want to understand human stories and songs." They laughed together, imagining lessons they would teach each other. In the days that followed, Ryan and Kai traveled to human and Eron worlds. They visited starships and floating cities. Ryan taught engineers to build better scanners. Kai showed diplomats how the pleasure bond could settle conflicts. With each new lesson, their bond grew stronger. They watched as former rivals became friends. One morning, Ryan received a message from Earth. His family invited him to a celebration. Kai joined him on the communication sphere. Together, they watched the hologram of his parents and brother. They congratulated Ryan and Kai on their marriage, now recognized by both worlds. Kai's eyes filled with happy tears. Ryan took her hand and said, "Our families will be one. To celebrate." Ryan and Kai returned to the Crystal Plaza. The place of their first meeting now hosted gatherings of both species. Lanterns floated in the sky, and music filled the air. Ryan wore a simple suit of human design. Kai wore a flowing gown of Aran silk, woven with gold threads. They stood before their friends and family. Elder Mia officiated. She spoke of unity, trust, and joy. Kai and Ryan exchanged simple vows. Kai said, "I promise to share my world with you." Ryan said, "I promise to protect our bond for all time." They placed a wreath of flowers on each other's heads. The crowd cheered. After the ceremony, humans and Erons danced beneath the stars. Ryan held Kai close as they moved to gentle music. He felt her heartbeat in time with his. Kai rested her head on his chest and whispered, "This is our true beginning." Ryan kissed her hair and said, "For eternity." As the night deepened, Ryan and Kai stood apart from the crowd. They overlooked the gardens glowing under moonlight. Kai leaned against him and said, "Our bond changed two worlds." Ryan nodded. He said, "And we will keep building peace." Kai smiled and pressed her lips to his cheek. She said, "Together, nothing is impossible." Ryan wrapped his arm around her and whispered, "Together we will shine brighter than any star." Hand in hand, they walked into their new future, ready to lead their worlds with hope, trust, and the power of pleasure's bond.